Am I a wage slave? Are you? What else is there for us to do? Be an entrepreneur? What happens if you're not entrepreneurial? Or, yeah, I guess running your own business is being entrepreneurial. I don't think I am a wage slave, but I might be kidding myself. I'm going to talk about my career. I've worked for myself, I've worked for others, I've worked for organisations. I'm going to respond to the spate of videos about wage slavery on YouTube. It's very popular, and I appreciate that working for a company seems to have got a lot worse than when I started in the 80s, in 1980s. So let's have a little recap on my career, I suppose. I started out as a computer programmer, late 80s, early 90s, working for various companies, including Bristol and West, which is now no more. It's a building society in the UK. I enjoyed being a programmer. It was fun and stimulating and challenging, and I got paid a decent amount. I started to notice at the end of working for Bristol and West, we had more and more targets and deadlines and something called KPIs and SLAs. These three-letter acronyms were introduced. And it all felt like pressure, an unnecessary pressure, to my mind. Pressure. Work harder, work faster, do more. There wasn't a crazy overtime culture, thankfully, but I didn't like it. And I don't know if you've heard the story of the frog that is in water, and then you turn the heat up, and the frog stays in the water and boils to death, versus when you drop the frog into boiling water, it leaps straight out again. That's quite a familiar sort of self-help tale. I felt the water heating up a little bit, and I didn't like it. Stupid deadline after deadline after deadline. Oh my gosh, just really annoying. So I just left. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I didn't want that. I left. I was a computer programmer. I left, a temp for a few weeks, even temped for a company called CompuServe, which then became AOL, or AOL took over CompuServe. I didn't like it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I temped, and then I became an IT contractor and earned quite a bit of money doing that. But I'm quite a sensitive person. I already knew that I didn't like this work environment. And so it was easy for me to quit without knowing what I was going to do. I then worked for myself for quite a long time, maybe 18 years, as a web designer, online publisher, creating websites on self-help and sites that helped people help themselves. I was a life coach, a transformative life coach for a little while. I was able to do that. I worked 9 to 5, believe it or not, on my schedule, motivating myself to create websites, help people, respond to the changing technologies. It got more and more difficult to create websites that would get found on Google. And after a while, I wasn't really earning enough money. But I did not want a job. I did not want a job, and I ended up overpaying my mortgage. And then for a while, I took that money out of the mortgage and just lived off that because I really didn't want to get a job. And I don't think that was the wisest thing I ever did, but it's what I did. And I ended up getting a job or looking for work in 2018. And it was strange. I was looking for entry-level work, even though I had lots of skills, online skills, social media marketing, internet marketing, email marketing, web design, style sheets, etc., etc. it was hard for me to articulate those skills into something that might mean I was employable. So I was looking for entry-level work, and it was strange because I went for a job, and it was like there was no real interview. What mattered was, did I have the right to work in the UK? Yes, I'm British. But then what seemed to happen is they had this training course to get you trained up. And that seemed to be the interview, because some people couldn't hack the training. They couldn't do the training. They couldn't go to work every day without being sick, it seemed. They couldn't listen to training without being on the phone all the time. So it seemed that the training was the way of weaning people off. And maybe some people were bored and they didn't want to do the training, and they knew that they would get paid a little bit. So it seemed like, at least for entry-level work, no training, no interview. The training will weed you out. So, but I did a job for Lloyd Banking Group, and I was on the phones, and I found it very difficult. There was micromanaging all over the place. Toilet breaks were log in, log out. Everybody there looked unhappy. There was a high turnover of people. People connected with each other, but not really. There's a lot of pressure, and I even though I needed the money, I hacked it for 5 weeks, and I just couldn't stand it. I really couldn't cope with it. I then went for a job in a care home, or caring for people with disabilities. And again, I needed money, and I got the job, but I just thought, I don't want to. My heart wasn't really in it. I didn't really want to do the job just for the sake of it, because people, as much as it was a job for me, these people, to me, wanted somebody that wanted to do the job. And I didn't feel it was right for me to do that job without really wanting to do it. Plus, it meant working on weekends, nights, and again, I just didn't fancy that. So I was unemployed for the best part of a year, and I started to live off my credit card. Not great. Got a job working for Royal Mail over Christmas, which was fantastic. Mail sorter in a warehouse. And then I got a job working for Samsung, working for Capita, and their client was Samsung. Digital experience advisor, replying to tweets and Facebook queries. So it's all digital. I started doing this job, and I've just noticed something. When I had a job, and admittedly it was a decent job, computer programmer, but the jobs just seemed crappier. Jobs seemed crappier, a lot more pressure, a lot more micromanaging, and I really could think, no, these jobs are not good. And there was loads of these jobs, loads of low-paying jobs, loads, and lots of people had degrees. I've got a degree. Loads of people were straight out of university doing these. It just surprised me. It surprised me how crappy, to use a technical term, work was, at least entry level. I haven't worked at a mid-level or senior level, and I imagine those jobs are also crappy in their own way. I was surprised how hard the workplace was. And there were corporations had values, KPIs and SLAs were now commonplace. Values, demonstrate your values in your job. How are you demonstrating it? Regular team briefs, everything just Americanized, in a way that I did not care for. I worked for Samsung Capita for a couple of years, managed to save some money. I also had a pension that was coming to fruition because I'm 59, and I for some reason, when I set up this pension ages ago, I got it so I could cash it out at 55. And in the end, I cashed it out, lived off that for a couple of years, paid off my mortgage. And in the time when I was living off some of my cashed out pension, I then tried to work for myself again. In the end, I tried to be a low content publisher. You publish books on Amazon or Etsy. And I did that for a while. I did not succeed. I got kicked off Amazon for breaking one of their terms of service or terms and conditions. For putting, I won't go into the details of why I got kicked off, but I got kicked off. So I spent like a year trying to make a go of it on Amazon, and I didn't succeed, and they got rid of all my books, which was a pain. And then I worked, once my money ran out again, I worked for Step Change, debt charity, helping people get out of debt. Great organisation, makes a big difference to people. And I wouldn't say that that's a good company, and it's a sort of organisation I wanted to work for until I retire, which in the UK is 67. And it's a good company, but for some reason I just couldn't do it. And it's hard to pin down why I couldn't do it. And maybe I didn't want to be a wage slave. I didn't want to work for others. Go in at this time, have your break at this time, come off at that time, have to ask for holidays, not have time off at Christmas because everybody else wants to have time off at Christmas. There was just this pressure, and I didn't like it. But now I'm looking for work again, maybe as a customer service advisor. I'd also like to work for myself. I'd like to make the YouTube thing work. Maybe I don't quite know how it's going to work, the YouTube thing, but I'd like it to. I like working for myself. I like the autonomy. Or if I work for an organisation, it's a small organisation where you get to contribute more than just your job role. You get to contribute fully. And that's one of the best things about working for yourself. You get to do everything. And that is a flaw as well, and because you can't do everything and you don't have time, and some things you should be letting somebody else to do, and you delegate to them and you do what's most valuable. And I wasn't very good at that. But you get autonomy. You get to see, what can I do? How can I stretch myself? How can I grow? And in a job, it's harder. You just do those things. And I made several suggestions, especially at Samsung Capita, how to improve the organisation, how we could do things better. And they were sort of taken on, but they never went anywhere. I was a bit frustrated about that. Anyway, that's a little bit of look at my career. I never thought of myself as a wage slave. But I never liked working in companies either. And I'd rather not have a job, I really wouldn't. And whenever I get a chance not to have a job, like I can live off about £1,000 a month at the moment, so I had £4,000 saved, I'm off for 4 months. That just makes sense to me. I'd rather that than work. But the months will run out, I'll need to get a job, and I'm looking for work, and I'm also trying to make this work. So I think I might be a wage slave. I've done my best not to be one, but you do have to earn a living, I guess. So here I am, talking about being a wage slave, not thinking I am one, wondering how will you get on about not being a wage slave? Do you just do it and enjoy your life when you're not working? Are you entrepreneurial? I'm trying to be entrepreneurial. It doesn't come naturally to me. Are you entrepreneurial? Do you run your own business? Do you just work for yourself? And do you enjoy that freedom even though work never ends? Are you unemployed? Are you just looking for a job like I am? I'd like your thoughts on wage slavery. Is it a real thing? Is work just something that you have to do? Get on with it? What do you think? I'm curious. Thanks for watching the video, and I will suggest another video that you can watch now. And please leave comments about this, and another video coming soon. Thank you.